Welcome back, listeners to Learning from Friends. My name is Cade Curtis, your tour guide in this lovely adventure that we get to do bi-weekly together. And this is extremely exciting today because we've been planning back and forth with this guest, talking about it. And we went to middle school together. We went to high school together. We were in band. We had all these different little connections throughout the years. And I'm so glad I got to reconnect here with this individual. But before we do that, I have to do my mom's quote of the day. Mom, take it away.
If you see someone falling behind, walk beside them. If you see someone being ignored, find a way to include them. If someone has been knocked down, lift them up. Always remind people of their worth. One small act can mean the world to them.
Always, Mom, you deliver with great advice and great words. And a lot of these quotes that get said to me by my mom, they wind up going on my whiteboard at school as well. So some of these, if my students are listening, go, that one sounds familiar. Probably because it was on the whiteboard at one point in time. So for those that don't know, I teach 7th grade social studies. And as I teach, the first thing that kids walk in the door, they see a whiteboard quote that's attached to my door. And they have something of like vote of confidence kind of thing to go in for the day. Sorry about the little side tangent there, but let's go into our topic today. I have got Ari Ivers here, who is the owner / photographer / catch-all leader of Mad Woman Studios. And she is a great photographer that is coming on here to be able to discuss what it's like owning her own business, being the photographer that she is, and sharing the joy of the art that is out there in this world through the behind the lens of a camera. So Ari, welcome into the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Cade. It's truly time for this to happen.
It is. We've been talking back and forth for a little while. Actually, a couple of years. I've been poking to kind of see like, oh, can I finally get you to go on? And so I'm finally glad I broke you down.
Yep, you got me this time.
It's kind of like it took for me and my wife finally dating. I think I asked her out 3 separate times before she finally said, you know what? Okay, let's go out. And then now I'm going on. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be right before 9 years of marriage. So persistence, it works out. So a large majority of the audience here, Ari, has no clue really who you are here. Give us like a little bit of like a Wikipedia page summary of yourself and or some highlights, whatever you feel you would like to share with the audience here to introduce yourself.
Well, I'm a married mom of 1. I grew up in North Georgia with Cade, and I'm now living in Central Georgia. Let me tell you about that change in scenery. I've been doing photography for a really long time now. Started back in high school, and it just has kind of always been a part of me and my soul. And growing up in the small town of Waleska gives you a lot of opportunity to get in trouble with the police by trespassing, but also get some really great photography skills along the way too.
That's sometimes the greatest photography comes out of a little bit of a illegalness, I'm going to say, in some ways, that because of it makes the excitement to it in some ways, the thrill.
Well, and it's such a minor infraction, no harm is done, that I'm like, it's okay. We'll be fine.
Leave it the same way you found it. That's the thing at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned that, we grew up in Cherokee County kind of together in that range. I kind of spoiled a little bit of how we know each other, but give me a little bit of your perspective here.
Gosh, I don't even remember the first time we met because we've known each other forever at this point, but I know it was in middle school. Had to have been in 7th grade at Teasley, probably in band. That was probably our first time meeting was 7th grade band. So it's been a wild ride. It was really great growing up with you. Let me tell you that.
I will admit, I'm gonna give an awkward story here for a second, y'all. I do apologize here. Whenever I was playing in a band and I was doing a small concert in my front yard, and I was trying to go through and get people to kind of like come and get things in place, and they go, Ari, we need an MC just to come up and introduce the 2 bands. And Ari's like, yeah, I'll think about it. I'll kind of think about it. And the day before the event, Ari said, nope, I'm not coming. She no-showed on me. But it's okay.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
The nervousness of it. I remember you calling me the night before and go like, I can't do it, Kate. I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, it's fine.
I'm a terrible public speaker. It has never been my forte.
It's a-okay. It's no worries at all. But it kind of just carries on with the thing of I'm always kind of like poking, prodding people, and it's yeah. I guess it's the continual of Ari. I got one finally. It only took that. See here. I'm not gonna age us too much here, but it's almost 2 decades. We're getting there on it. So finally
Oh
got there.
gosh, that does hurt.
Yeah, it kind of does a little bit. Sorry about that. I couldn't help it. Couldn't help that there, but I'll do no more embarrassing stories. I promise. I have a couple more, but I'm not gonna do it. I promise I won't. But so let's dive in here because that's what. If not, I'll go on the side tangent of embarrassing stories. But there's a lot of jargon and stuff that can come in whenever you were talking about subject, especially when it comes to photography. Is there any words that you may want to introduce to us here before we get deeper into this? And you just use the word 4 times and people go, I don't know what that means.
Absolutely. There's a couple of them. I'll start off with a personal one that I know will end up being used. Ezra was the name of my very first camera and the name of my first photography company. And I speak about Ezra as if she were a person. She is not actually a person. She was a camera and the very first company that I had. So that one is definitely something that will get tossed around in very personified ways. But when it comes to photography terms, f-stop and aperture, that's an important one. That is actually referring to the opening of the lens, the way your pupil works. It gets bigger when it's dark outside. It gets smaller when it's really bright. That's a very important one. Shutter speed has everything to do with how fast the shutter opens and closes. And those two things happen, that they're something you touch every single time you turn on a camera. Those are the two biggest things that will probably get tossed around and can sound confusing in certain scenarios, but are very important.
Yeah, you got to have all those little intricacies to make the camera fully work. Of what you may seem like the most cleanest, crisp of pictures really took a long time. It may be a time lapse. It could be one of those ones that the perfect amount of exposure for light. Because right now, the exposure, the light in my camera right now is terrible, and so it would take a really terrible picture. But that's very important to have the vocabulary stuff in place. So thank you for introducing that here. And as we go into talking about photography, there are so many misconceptions and so many stereotypes that pop up because of, I know the first one that came to my mind when I was telling a friend, they go, oh, what's your next podcast about that you're recording? Oh, I'm doing one in photography. And then my brain goes to immediately, I remember when we had the disposable cameras. What was a point click kind of deal? And I'm like, in my brain was like, no, Cade, stop. You know so much better than that because of your brother, like, loved photography. You love photography growing up. Don't be that person.
Don't get me wrong, though. Disposable cameras have their use. And
They
still to
do.
this day, if I was handed one, I would use it because there's so many fun things you can do. You never know what you're going to get.
My favorite thing was getting it whenever you can just smash it down and you still get the flash, but it wouldn't take a picture. Those are fun.
Yes. Yes. I think that just dated us more than anything right there.
That's true. Hey, we could say that at least we're not as far back as saying, I remember when we had that flash bulb that had powder that came out of it. We weren't that far back though.
That explodes.
Yeah. Or the crystals that explode and all of a sudden it makes that the smell of like broken light bulbs because it's a broken light bulb. So we're not that far back.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sorry, I sidetracked us. What are some stereotypes and misconceptions that you would like to address?
One of the ones that gets me every time is, hey, my neighbor's kid just got a camera and they're going to be a professional photographer. Having a nice camera doesn't make you a photographer. You may aspire to be a photographer, and I support your want to grow into this art world. It's a great, crazy world to be in. Take some classes, learn some things, but the camera doesn't make the photographer. Great quality cameras are important, but they're not the whole picture. Pun intended.
I love that. That's great. I was going to say, I was like, oh, that's very punny.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. It drives me crazy all the time. We're oversaturated in the market, and that's one of the big reasons is the people who think that the camera is what does it, not the person.
I definitely say some of the best photos that I've ever taken in my life were up with much older, cheap thrift store cameras that were just so phenomenal when it gets that. I have to ask, just because of you've said Ezra What type of camera was Ezra?
Ezra was a Panasonic Lumix F23, and she's actually right here. I got her back.
Oh, wait, where did it go? What happened?
I loaned her to a friend
Oh,
indefinitely, way back in the day when I upgraded equipment. And when I retired Ezra, she dug through her closet and realized that she still had her.
oh, yay! That's awesome. That's so
it's
cool. Yeah, it's
it's a little junker at this point. I mean, it's ancient. The screen is like,
but
you know,
it's what got you there.
exactly.
That's the
It
cool
was
thing at
the
the end of the day.
start.
It's all got to start somewhere. That's the truth thing. It's always got to start somewhere. And that's where I want to know next is what's kind of your background? What's kind of like your experience to kind of get you to where you are today with Madwoman Studios?
Absolutely. So it all really started. The very, very beginning was my mom auditing art classes at Reinhardt. That's kind of where the art world started for me. And then the photography realm really kicked in when I spent a lot of time at Swayze's
Oh
watching
man.
emo
Oh
shows.
man. I love me some Swayze. I got to play
Yes.
there twice. Good venue. Rest in peace,
Oh,
Swayze's.
man. I know. I passed by the other day and I was heartbroken not being there. But, they're watching the metal shows and the emo shows. And I really wanted to be able to capture that passion that the musicians had while they did their thing.
Yes.
So that's kind of where everything started. It started in concert photography and morphed over the years into portraiture and everything in between. I've, done a little landscape here and there, mostly just for fun, not for profit, but and has morphed into what I now would consider an art focused portrait work.
So having, okay, the musicians, man, you had to deal with a lot of lighting issues very young. If you're dealing with Swayze's where the lights are kind of going in and out, and then, oh, sometimes we're just straight dark. Woo! You got trial by
Oh,
fire there.
I did. I did. I fed myself straight to the wolves immediately. The green lights in Swayze's were absolutely the worst. They made
Yep.
everybody look funny. But I got some great pictures out of it. And I actually won a scholarship to the Art Institute of Atlanta with some of my pictures being from Swayze's.
What? That's awesome.
So
I love that. I have to
I'll
ask,
take it.
what is one of the bands you remember very prominently from Swayze's? Because there's so many.
Which one? Which one?
There's so many, but
I
which
still
one is
have all
like,
my
come on.
t-shirts. Well, the one right off the top of my head was Mandrake Theory.
Okay. Gotcha.
Back with their original lead singer, not after they got the new chick as lead singer. I don't remember any of their names, but when they switched lead singers, that kind of fizzled out on them. It changed the feel of the music significantly. So
Musicians coming into a band, leaving a band, it does make an impact. I don't care what anyone says.
it does. And Irony Massacre was another one I went and saw all the time. I went to so many shows. I think I ended up at the Masquerade for a couple of their shows too.
Oh man, rest in peace, the original Masquerade. That was like the building that was falling apart, the old factory. I love that place.
Yeah, me too. I always wanted the floor of heaven to cave in just so that I could pass peacefully into Nirvana right there from heaven.
Yes. Heaven, go down to the purgatory and then maybe or down into hell, depending upon where you're at, standing in the room. Good times.
Right?
Good times. I love the nostalgia factor here that we're already throwing in here. This is warming my heart. Now, okay, you also did, if I remember correctly, you did some sports photography for us in high school, correct? Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I did. I did. I photographed the football team at the games our senior year of high school with Betty Frady. And then afterwards, right after I graduated from college, I went to work for one of the nameless big box store photography companies and did a full senior season there, photographing high school seniors
Okay.
into football season and then through prom season too. So I did a lot of sports work there and studio work specifically there as well.
So that's awesome. So you had, the self photography kind of there of going that you had the sports world, you had the music world. You had a lot of good background here. And being in Waleska, I bet you shot a lot of landscape whenever you're going into Waleska, just because, as you said, there's not much there, but you can get into a lot of trouble
Right.
very quickly.
Yes, yes, you can. Yep. There's especially at my parents' property, they've got a great view with two creeks, and I grew up running through the woods, trying not to get bit by snakes and jumping in the creeks, and when it was not warm enough to be doing so, and all of those things. So it gave me great opportunity to take pictures anytime I wanted.
Yeah, that goes a long way of getting out into nature and like learning and exploring with learning yourself as an individual, but also learning the surroundings around you and getting to take good photos along the way too, because of being peaceful can make a big difference in learning to focus, because you really have to like be able to be focused and be still and getting some of those best photographs that are with you. So you said Art Institute of Atlanta, you got a scholarship to go there. Was that correct?
I did. I did. I did not end up going, but
Okay.
I won second place in the school's scholarship contest. It still would have been a house mortgage to go
Oh
though,
yeah.
so opted for a different route.
Where did you wind up going? Did you go with a photography degree? Did you go business degree? What is kind of your background whenever for schooling to continue for the collegiate level?
I actually ended up at Reinhardt University, right down the street from where I grew up,
That saves lots of
with
money.
nearly a full ride. It really did, and lots of time. And they had a great art program. So I actually went for my bachelor's in fine arts in digital arts.
Nice. That's awesome. You finished up your degree. You started doing it. It was your senior year. You were doing kind of an internship that started out with taking the senior photography for high school students for the Dallas That Shall Not Be Named company.
That was actually a full-time position. It wasn't an internship. 12 hours a day in the dark room.
What was that next step from there after you've graduated your dark room? Now, I'm just trying to wrap up a little bit of experience before we start diving into where we are getting a little bit further today. So you've got that, you've got the experience, the background. Now you're getting ready to go out. You've got your degree, you've got some background experience, and you continue to kind of go. Did you do any promotion work with Harley Davidson? I remember correctly.
I was the marketing and promotions director there for
That's
about
it.
5 years. So my photography wrapped in with that position perfectly as well.
Okay, and I was trying to remember which was. I remember you connected him with one of them. Was it Honda? Was it Kawasaki? Harley. Okay, it's that you're building
Yep.
this portfolio, you're building this knowledge, which is amazing here. Whenever you get there, you've got all this background, you've experienced this stuff from your childhood and everything going forward. How does photography really allow you, Ari, to express yourself differently than any of the other forms of art and expression?
Well, first and foremost, I'm terrible at all other kinds of art. Drawing is not my thing. Painting is not my thing. I took all the classes. I did all the things. I sufficed for, having a fine arts degree. But photography was always that one thing that I always felt the most confident in. I could not throw a piece of ceramic pottery. I could not do it
That
for the
is really
life of me.
hard.
I spent a whole semester, and
Oh,
I think I got like 3 whole bowls out of the whole thing. And my professor, bless his heart, he was absolutely fantastic. He's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was
oh.
like, "Patience. I don't have patience. You know this about me." And a lot of fine art really takes a level of patience that I've never been able to exude out of myself.
I know that feeling. Patience is extremely hard. That's why it's a virtue.
Exactly. It's a virtue I do not have. And photography's always been that backbone to let me get some of these pictures I have stuck in my brain out.
Yeah, you have the visual, you have it here, and you do need a lot of handwork to be able to do the pottery, but you need to have a lot of good handwork as well for doing the photography of capturing at that right moment, getting the right click. But it's
Mhm.
just a different motion. It's just, but
Exactly.
it's all interconnected there. You just had a different mind for art than there, and I'm glad that it found you in that way. Now, in order to develop and grow and learn, we have to have those like heroes, those mentors, those people that shaped us. Who are some of those people to you that really made that extra step?
Well, there's been quite a few people in my personal life that have really helped me in my journey, but also um, watching one of the most world famous photographers of all time, Annie Leibovitz, and staring at her work endlessly was always a very inspiring time for me. She just has this way of capturing portraits of people that it looks like she just burst into a room and took the picture without anyone knowing. And it was something I always aspired to, making portraits look like they're candids, when in
Yeah.
fact, a lot of work actually went into them. Another one was my mom. When she went to Reinhardt and audited art classes when I was a kid, she came back upset after some kinds of
Oh.
classes drawing because drawing is not our thing, and we had some choice colorful four-letter words for drawing boxes. But things like pinhole photography, which is a very
Oh
old
my gosh,
form
yes.
of photography, and just alternative methods of printing photographs, just really watching her do that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to learn how to do that too. And now I could make a pinhole camera out of the oatmeal container in my pantry right now if I really wanted to. Being able to develop the pictures, on the other hand, is a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, a lot more
Um,
chemicals in
so
space.
yeah, and disposing of silver, it comes with a very high cost because
Yep.
you can't just dump it in the backyard.
Don't be mean to the environment, people. Always be kind.
Exactly. But as well, my art professor from college, he actually was the one who was doing a lot of the classes that my mom was auditing. So
Oh, nice.
he wasn't just an art professor for us, he was a family friend who annoyed the crap out of me on Friday night when my parents and them would all be having a jam session out on the patio. And, I was like 13, like, come on, guys, let me go to sleep. Like, I want to go to sleep now. Can you tone down your jam session? He was a big help to me through college. He drove me absolutely insane. He literally stood behind me during a drawing class and poked me with the pencil in the back for 2 hours.
What?
He was trying to get me out of my head because
Oh,
I'm
fair.
notorious for getting stuck in my own head. And while I completely appreciate what he was trying to do, he almost drove me to the brink of insanity. And sometimes that's what it takes.
It's true. I agree.
He was tremendous, and he actually retired and now lives as an expat in Crete, Greece.
Wow. That's awesome. That's something to
It
work
is.
towards right
It is.
there.
Yep. 2025, Greece, here I come,
There
coming
we
to
go.
crash the party.
As you totally should. Hey, you have a place to stay. You have something for me. That's, you know what? That's exchange.
Yeah, exactly. There's an Airbnb right down the street.
Oh, perfect. So there you go. We have a plan. Look
Yeah,
out. It's coming your way. Look out.
exactly.
2025. Now, there are so many different areas that we've already discussed within photography. Do you have a specialty area that you like to focus with whenever working?
I have really niched myself down in the last couple of years. I really focus on more artistically minded portrait work. Back in the day, I've done sports and all the things, but what really draws me now is just really artistic, art focused portrait work, capturing the moment and, dark, deep tones, everything really warm. There's just something about it that speaks to me, and I'm sticking with my niche from here on out.
As you should, find your passion, show off the portfolio of what you've got, collect the people the right way to do it. My brain immediately goes to thinking of all the colors in the artistic realm is like Croak Bridge in downtown Atlanta. Like immediately goes to that.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, just all the
Yep.
different colors and it's always constantly changing. It's beautiful places. And I've seen some of the stuff that you've been posting, and I just love how you capture the colors. You do a very good job capturing colors.
Thank
I
you.
love color stuff. Like I am a color nerd with all that. I'm wearing a white shirt today, and this is really uncommon for me because I like bright, vibrant colors and everything. But the only reason why this is still white is because it's an undershirt. That's it.
Mhm.
I don't think you
I was
rarely
expecting a
get.
tie-dye shirt, honestly.
Well, I have a bajillion of them that I've made over the years and still make. And I think your name is actually still on one of my shirts that I made in high school of all the different names of people like over the years that were like very important to me. So I'm pretty sure I still have that one with your name on it somewhere. I made a bajillion of those shirts over the years, and I still got a couple. Some of them have survived, some of them have not. So I
Yep,
always like
yep.
love colors. And then you always made comments in high school, which encouraged me. So thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, Everything kind of
I
paves
love
its
the
way forward.
tie-dye. You were always a great friend. So it's easy to compliment a great person.
Aw, aw, I'm not getting all warm here. Now, over
Oh,
the
bounce back
years,
to the Krog Street Tunnel
yes, go for it.
thing you just mentioned. I actually did an engagement session in the tunnel just a couple of months ago, and it was epic. I was so excited. That was such a fun session, and the tunnel is all it's cracked up to be,
It is.
100%.
If you're ever in Atlanta, drive through, go to it. Drive through, go and get through it. It's worth every bit of it. I'm looking forward to going back over to. Did you ever go to the goat farm over in Atlanta?
No, I haven't
Oh,
been yet, but
it's
I've seen
redone.
stuff about it.
It's not the same anymore. It's been, I'm going to use the word, a lot of people don't like the word of it, gentrified. They've came in, they've redone it. I loved it when it was falling apart, terrible. There was a fires here and there and everything. It was falling apart. I loved it because it was industrial and falling apart. I had my engagement photos there. And shout out to Joe King ATL. You're awesome. Thank you for taking our photos there. But yeah, finding someone with a good eye for art and getting engagement pictures and stuff like that, that's something that will stick with you forever. So, thank you for doing that kind of stuff for people. It
Absolutely.
makes the world of a difference. Now, how did you gain that style? Like, because if we have to evolve over the years to get to that point, how has your photography style and approach evolved?
In the beginning, it was trial by fire, just figuring out how to make things work and what worked and what didn't. And then it evolved into try to get it right, and right in air quotes, because, there are ways to do things, but rules are also meant to be broken. And that is something that I've had to retrain myself over the last couple of years is no, I don't enjoy white picket fence photography. I
Mhm.
don't want to do the bright light, whites and neutrals and, perfect family portraits where I have to correct every person's eyes in Photoshop because none of them were looking at the camera at the same time. Or I really, that always burned me out really quickly.
I can believe that.
Really, the pandemic, I think, is one of the beginning of this latest transition
Okay.
because it killed the industry. Photographers started learning how to do photo sessions through Zoom and doing front yard sessions where there were no contact way far back, which I'm grateful that they were able to do that for themselves. But my personal life through that time, it was the pandemic. We were in lockdown. It was hard.
Yeah. For everyone, it changed a lot.
It did. It did. I started collecting plants, house plants, house plants. I wasn't a plant person. Now I have 40.
I decided to stop drinking soda, and that was hard.
Yeah, no. Just stop drinking soda during lockdown.
Yeah. That was hard.
Yeah, I bet. I mean,
I'm not a big reader, and I read a lot of books. That was something that, like, I became a self-help
oh,
junkie. I've read so many self-help books as a result of COVID.
hey, it can't hurt, right?
Well, in some ways it can be negative because you start to, like, self-diagnose yourself with things. You're like, "No, that doesn't work." But hey, plants, water, self-help, everybody's gotta do something during that time period.
Exactly, exactly. And my daughter was 18 months old when lockdown started.
Oh,
So
wow.
daycare's closed. I'm working a full-time job from home with an 18-month-old running around.
Oh
My
god.
husband was working out of town half the week through lockdown. It was just a lot. So photography just completely fell off my plate. I did a session of just like our family photos with my camera on a tripod and tried to
Yeah.
do our own portraits. We got some cute stuff out of that, but
Aw.
that was the only session I did for the entire year of 2020, I think.
Oh my word.
It just wasn't happening. Personal life wouldn't allow it, COVID, all the things combined. So, um 2021 and life started becoming a little less complicated, and it gave me the chance to really start thinking about what I liked and what I didn't like and how I wanted to do things, and a couple of sessions of just, normal stuff, family friends needing family pictures that would let me do my artistic style and that sort of thing really, you know, accidentally brought me to my niche and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be right or normal.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it the way I want to, the
Do it the
way that
Ari
makes me
way.
feel right. Exactly. The way that makes me feel good and feel proud of what I'm putting out there. So I think everybody's different on how they end up in the niche or editing style that they prefer. But for me, it was a really personal experience and transition in life.
That's phenomenal. There's a quote that popped in my head. I'm probably gonna butcher it. I apologize for those that are gonna be like, "You're butchered it entirely." Pablo Picasso made this amazing quote of just like, "Learn the rules so you can break them beautifully." It's just like,
Ex-
like
and
that's
my
the way it should
favorite
be.
fine artist ever, appropriate.
Now, everyone has different types of materials and products that are there. Do you have any specific types of products you like to use?
Oh, I am a Nikon girly all the way. I've been using a Nikon camera since old Ezra got retired from use,
Ah,
and Nikon everything. My camera is a Nikon D850. Most of my lenses are Nikon. I do have a Sigma Art series, which is mwah, perfect.
haha.
I love that lens, and it was worth every last dollar I spent on it. But Nikon hardcore. And I'm currently using a lighting brand called Profoto,
Okay.
and I've loved these lights. They're fantastic. I've used quite a few different types of lights over the years, and these are by far the easiest to maneuver, easiest to set, worth every penny. So I don't think I'd ever switch unless they found something even more easy to use, which I'm not sure is possible. So
You never know. Every day we're getting all kinds of new technology and stuff that's out there, but if it works, roll with it. Even if it may be worth
exactly.
having to pay that extra tens, hundreds, or thousands of dollars, if it makes your life easier, it is worth it. Hands down.
Yep, you got to calculate the expense to benefit ratio, but at the time when I bought that light kit, I had just got it received a pretty chunky settlement after I had a car hit me on my motorcycle. So it
Ooh.
helped cover the cost of the upgrades.
Do you still ride?
Have not since. I was pregnant not 8 months later. So
Ah, you never know. I just got into riding again after a while, and I was just like, "Yeah, she's still riding, she not?" Okay, that kind of answered that question I was gonna ask, not for this, but, like, I was gonna ask you outside of this, but it kinda got thrown in there. Little bonus question.
yeah, yeah. It'll happen again one day. Just got to get through the little ones, young years before I can think about that kind of extra financial expense.
Yeah,
Owning a house
it
is
adds up.
expensive.
Yes, it is. I've been in this one for 8 years, and every time I turn around, there's something that has to get fixed, but welcome to homeownership. Welcome to
Yeah,
adulting. Okay, everybody, don't grow up. It's a trap.
it is a trap.
It's
I try to return it every day, and my mom just laughs and laughs and laughs.
there's a lot of photography and pictures you've taken and seen over the years. Do you have any impactful photo that you've taken over the years that really has a particular meaning to you?
There's been a lot over the years that it really spoke to me, but my most recent very meaningful photo session was actually with one of my best friends, Laura. We were celebrating her 1 year sober anniversary. And this has been a long time, thing for us throughout adulthood. And so being able to celebrate that moment with her, for her, really meant a lot to me. And we kind of went with a fairy goddess kind of theme, and it felt awesome. And she looked great, and I was just really happy to be able to capture some memories to celebrate her and all of her accomplishments.
That's a tough road to be able to do that. Even a week, a month, a year, anybody that's going through trying to be sober or quit something is so hard. So shout out to anybody and everybody that goes through that. And even if you have like relapse 2 or 3 times, keep trying, keep pushing
Keep
for it.
going, one day at a time.
Always. I'm glad you got to be able to capture that and do that for her, to be able to provide that memory, because that goes a long way in life, to be able to look back for her and you at the same time as well.
Yep. Get to celebrate her a little bit every day.
Amen. Now, if you could have a dream scenario that you've been hired to do this job, there's a session set up for you. We're gonna say you can go forward, you can be forward in time, backwards in time. You're just getting a phone call. What is your dream phone call for a session that you can be able to do?
Ooh, that's a tough
I
question.
know. I threw the curveball of throughout history too, of like going backwards. You could time travel like Doctor Who
Oh,
here.
I mean, who wouldn't want to go photograph Nirvana in their heyday, though?
Oh my gosh, this is a true statement. I've been trying to go out to Seattle, and that's been on like my bucket list to get out that way. Oh,
Ah, that would be dreamy. I mean, but honestly, like, I could get dropped off in the middle of the Amazon with somebody who was just willing to do ridiculous things and let me photograph it, and then I'd be happy too. Traveling is something I've always loved, so anything involving photography mixed with traveling would be top notch. So I'm here for the adventure, if you will.
there you go. Long for the ride. Make that happen. So if we get time travel in place, I'll make sure that I can kind of get you back there, because I would like to go and attend at least 10 to 15 shows to get a full good vibe of the good
Yeah.
shows and the bad shows, just so I can kind of have the full picture balance.
Yes, absolutely. And then get Kurt back in the green room and let me do some photography of him in his natural habitat.
This is true. Well, I think is like getting him outside of the building and just walking around the building, I think would be almost cooler than sitting in the green room. Getting him out and about
That's
so he's
true.
like walking. I don't know. That's just me. My brain goes to. Because sometimes I love green rooms, but they could be really small and tight sometimes and feel overwhelming.
That's true.
So I don't know. I'm over. I think of directly whenever we're seeing like the green room. My brain goes back to the 40 watt where you can actually put your like hand on his signature and on the wall, and it's like that's a very
Mm,
small room. And I'm like, I don't. I'm like,
yeah.
and all the bands that come through there, but that's normal. A green room is not usually that big for small venues. And for those
That's
that think of,
true.
oh, it's the most amazing things, musicians will tell you it's nothing special. It's just a
Yeah,
safe.
they're
It's
they're
a safe
usually not
place.
very
Mm-mm.
fancy or
No.
anything. They're usually pretty gross, which I'm cool with in a photography world. So,
Yes. Now let's jump to the business side of things. How did you come up with the name Mad Woman Studios, and what's the meaning behind it?
well, the pandemic, everything boils back to lockdown. The long and the short of it is there's a Taylor Swift song from my favorite album, and it's called Mad Woman.
Okay.
And I won't go into the details of what the song's about because that's not important in this particular sense, but something about that just struck me. I've always had this like Alice in Wonderland kind of feel in my life, like, oh, look at her down the well again. She drank too much, she ate too much, she cried herself a river. The
Love
the
me
the
some C.S.
wonders
Lewis.
of exactly that wild kind of life as a roller coaster thing. And it just seemed to fit how I've always had, my life being a roller coaster. And, I'm a little chaotic myself. So I was like, Mad Woman. No, she's not angry. She's crazy. This is perfect.
Love it.
So that's kind of where it came from. And I it's I don't think it will ever be retired. I was very sad to retire Ezra, but it was time for a change, and Madwoman was exactly what it needed to be.
And it's hard to sometimes get there to that name because I know for me, it took me forever to get to learning from friends. Even though I was running through all these different names and stuff, because first, then once you think you have the name, you then have to go check with, okay, is this already registered somewhere? Okay, cool. Is this registered? Is there a website that I can get my hands on? Is there all like you have to really, it takes a while to actually get going. And for you starting a photography business, what are some important things to consider when you're trying to start this business?
The business side of it, which is not my favorite part.
Business is
Um,
terrible. I agree. That's why I don't make money off of this because I'm not a good business person.
yes, yes, it's the paperwork, the
Hmm.
taxes. There is a lot that goes into starting a small business, and I am absolutely no expert. There are still pieces of this business that I need to do to make it, the rest of the way legitimate. I have the LLC, I've got the business license, I've got the things, but I still need, an EIN number and all of these things. And learning from people who know business better is the only way to survive going through this starting point. I consulted my day job boss, my sister-in-law, who had started a multitude of medical offices for other people, just to figure out, what legally speaking, what do I need to do to make this happen?
And it changes yearly.
It does. It does. And don't forget, on December 31st every year, your LLC expires and you have to pay them again to renew
Yep.
it. And your business license expires and they will come knock on your door if you don't pay it on time. And the just not even to mention the filing of the taxes quarterly and all that sort of thing, which I'm still wrapping my head around.
You can do monthly, you can do quarterly, you can do yearly. There's many options.
Yes, yes. It's just wrapping your head around the whole of the business side of it, I think, is the hardest part, because I've got the art part down. I've got the scheduling part down. I've got the new website that I figured out.
Yay.
I, you know, I've upgraded the gallery, like all these new things, because a lot of this stuff didn't exist when I first started doing photography.
Yeah.
I mean, we were delivering pictures on a CD-ROM, and after that, a flash drive. And
Woo.
now we've got
Now we're
online
getting bigger.
galleries with,
Yep.
I know, online galleries where you can download 3,000 high res images that are 40 megabytes a piece. And I'm like, this is really fancy. I really like it,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's
I don't have
it's
to
a
carry on
learning
a giant
curve.
book to try to be able to show somebody. Yeah.
Exactly. The millennial urge to, just keep hard copies of everything is strong.
Yes, I'm with you. I have a whole entire giant 2 or 3 Tupperware boxes, like the big Tupperware boxes full of like stuff whenever I was little taking pictures and then my parents' family pictures and things like that. It's something that we learned with and it's hard to give up. I'm with you. It's hard to give
It
up.
is. I probably have like 6 or 8 like giant shoe boxes full of memorabilia. I could
I don't blame
probably
you.
go through some of that and show and send you pictures, because I bet some of it involves you.
I'll have to go through and dig through some photos from middle school and high school that involve you as well. We'll have to share some of these things whenever we find it. I I had to clean my house soon, so maybe I'll do some exploring. And I've got this summer, so I may dig through some stuff this summer, see what I can find. Who knows?
Nostalgia digging.
Love it. Always a beautiful thing every day to get to a little bit of nostalgia in your life. We've taught a little bit of nostalgia here a lot today. That's
It
gonna be
is,
the
yeah.
word of the episode is nostalgia. Okay, guys, the word of the episode is nostalgia. It's now been hit. Now,
We've got it.
we mentioned a little bit of the mistake. What are some common mistakes that you now wish you could have avoided now that you've kind of been into it for a little while? That kind of like could have sped up maybe the process.
Yeah, the learning curve of social media marketing. We were born before Google.
Yeah.
Facebook wasn't a thing until we were nearly out of high school
Yeah, it's
and
like
in
junior, senior
college.
year kind of range. Yay, Zanga,
Exactly.
MySpace, Bandcamp, all the different ones. And then
I miss Zanga.
I did too.
Um, but the evolution of marketing, you don't just post an ad in the paper or hang flyers up in business windows or anything like that anymore. It's all about social media marketing. And on Instagram, it's not about the posting the picture to your wall anymore. It's about reels and stories. And that's how you get new viewers, and the true dedication to learning how those things work and how to do them efficiently would have been so helpful, because I am not efficient at creating videos. I've always hated videography. Anything involving images or videos just makes my skin crawl. So that is a huge learning curve that I wish I had dealt more with earlier on,
Mhm.
to have my head wrapped around it better. Picked up a Gen Zer to teach me how to do this stuff, so that I wasn't learning trial by fire, which is my forte.
And there's something to be said about that though. Trial by fire really can get you in the depths of something that can you come out the other side. You may be a little burned and bruised, but you probably actually learn more than hiring somebody in at times because you had to dig further and now you appreciate it more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I am a professional procrastinator, but darn it, if I don't make it perfect at the end and in on time.
That's what matters is you made it and it's on time, even though it may take the last second. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It is a beautiful thing. And over the years, to keep in honing in your skills and then continue to develop them, how do you do that?
Well, social media again has really helped be able to connect artists together to keep each other on our toes. I follow lots of photographers online, see what's going on. I learn something new every day, whether it's, you know, oh, I could do concept sessions where it's, a theme or whatever, things you'd never think about, somebody's thought about, and feeding off of each other, learning new things from each other, just seeing each other succeed has been a huge help for, my imposter syndrome for one, but also learning every day new things. So I've joined lots of photographer Facebook groups. I follow lots of photographers on Instagram, and there's a lot of them that we all follow each other just to help support each other, come together and support each other instead of it being a competition.
That is a beautiful phrase. Yes, I love you saying that. It's a community can be built and you don't have to be competing against each other to still learn from each other and grow. That is a important part. I'm reading a book called Givers and Takers. And the people that most of the time come ahead are those givers than the ones that are the takers, because at the end of the day, you've built the relationship for if something goes wrong and say, hey, you've got a photo session that they need to have it done by the end of next month. You're booked up, but you know somebody that you can be able to help refer them to because you trust them. You know it's going to be able to get them in the right way. And whenever you steer that client in the right way, okay, they're going to remember that you first helped them and to get them there. And then the person that you referred them to now like knows, okay, they think I do really good. They trust me, and it's a continuing building process.
Absolutely. And I have referred a lot of people to friend photographers who offer a service that I don't offer, specifically weddings. I get asked fairly regularly if I do wedding services, and I absolutely 100% do not. But I know a ton of people who do, and they do fantastic work. I'm happy to refer them over. It's all about community.
Yeah, community goes a long way in life, whether it is almost anything should have it needs to build a community for yourself. That is a huge
Hmm.
thing. Now, do you have any fun experiences from since owning a business and working it that you want to kind of share some funny stories or experiences?
Uh,
Have you had a session that just got to be a little weird by accident, like you stumbled and fell in the river while trying to take a photo or something weird like that? I don't know.
oh, something like that happens most sessions because I am very clumsy.
I remember that very clearly. That's the reason why I was poking to ask. No offense, sorry. I do remember this.
I am very, very clumsy. So, it was pretty funny. I do dance recital pictures for a friend's daughter every year. And She always does B-roll for me when I'm doing pictures of the kids,
Okay.
which is great. And I love her for that because she always will send me like a giant folder full of just B-roll for me to use for reels or whatever.
Nice.
This last go round, my butt ended up being like the main event in like most of it. I kept bending over right in front of the camera. I was like, she's like, Ari, you're doing the butt thing again. And I was like, well, at least it's you.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
There you go.
But there's just always an awkward position that I end up in, standing over people or under. I am not the photographer who stands and perfectly takes the picture nice and poised. I will fall over. I will end up on my butt or any sort of things, awkward position wise. I've slid down sand hills towards a creek. I didn't land in the creek.
Hey, that's a
Um,
win.
I had the mom in the creek and it was early March. I could not believe she agreed to get in the creek for these
Ooh.
pictures,
Yeah, that's
but
cold.
she did. And they were,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. It's always an awkward position coming up. No, I can't remember of a specific story outside of my butt in the camera at the moment.
Hey, there and the thing is the moment this is done, you'll remember like 18, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the what's in
I
the moment,
probably will.
what sticks into the mind of that exact moment here. And a good photographer, this is just my opinion of looking at when I look and I see someone taking photographs, is you're not just taking from one angle. You're taking from like 5, 6, 7 angles because you're on the ground like, hey, this could look cool over here. This could look cool up here. Like you're constantly moving to find that right spot. And I'm like, that person, if I'm hiring somebody, that's who I'm hiring because they're all over the place. I remember walking around, I think it's Magic Gardens in Philadelphia, and I'm taking pictures from all these different angles. And this guy comes up to me and goes, can you walk with me for like 5 minutes and take some photographs of me and my family? And I'm like, what? And they're like, you're actually moving and you're taking pictures. I go, I'm not a professional or anything by any ways, but he goes, I just want you to take pictures of us because you don't just stay at point and click. And I'm like, okay. But I do respect that with a photographer whenever they are moving in so many different directions because of every perspective is different. Whether you're tall, whether you're short,
Exactly.
whether you're on the ground, it's everywhere. And that is something that for me, what I look for whenever looking at photographers, w- whenever someone is hiring somebody, what advice would you give someone looking to hire a photographer?
Well, first and foremost, it all boils down to their style of photography. Go look up their Instagram, go look up their website, see their portfolio because their artistic style, their editing styles, that's who they are down to their core in the photography world. And you don't want to hire a classical musician to play metal music. You want to
True.
hire a classical musician to play classical music. And the same goes with a photographer. If you hire a photographer who has a bright and airy style, bright whites, bright, light, very low contrast, that sort of thing, and expect them to have the same editing style as me for your images or ask them to change their editing style for those images, you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be comfortable putting their name on it because it is not their work anymore. They took the pictures, but you've changed their art form. So, looking for someone that offers the style that you are looking for is the most important thing. The next would be don't hire the cheapest person you find unless that's what you unless that's the only thing you can afford. I will never down someone for having a lower budget than another person. There is such thing as you get what you pay for, especially in this industry.
Hmm.
And if you want something that you can print as a 3 foot by 5 foot canvas on the wall, you probably don't want to go to the person who is doing an hour-long sessions for $30.
Yeah.
You want to go to someone who has a higher price point so that you can get the quality of images that you want for the intended use.
Smart. I love those. That is perfect, great advice to be able to think of, because some people just they don't think that far. It's kind of like when working on a roof. You got to look at and working on anything. Sometimes you pay what you get for it, but also you got to know what you're looking at. Get before you make that decision. Always look to see kind of what's out there. Now, I've hired you
Absolutely.
as a you now have me as a client. How do you prepare before starting a session with a client?
Well, I'm actually getting ready to put together a formal questionnaire, but usually what I do is I go through, hey, what are we doing? What are you looking for? Is this you and your wife? Is this just you? Is it for the business? Is this for your personal? What kind of vibe are you going for? Why did you decide you wanted this session? What made you decide to have this session so that we can kind of come up with a game plan, your needs, what your outcome expectations are? Because if you need headshots for the podcast, I don't want to take you into the middle of a field with your wife and do couples pictures. So making sure that we have the same goals and you understand, we come to agreements on location and timing and, what you're wearing. I'm not a big judge when it comes to what you're wearing. I want you to be you.
Mhm.
But there are some guidelines I like to throw out for people so that they understand what does work and what doesn't work well. But it's basic stuff. In most of my pictures, I don't suggest people wear really bright colors, because really bright colors in things like clothing or props can detract away from the eye, what you want the picture, what you want to be seen in the picture, which is you, your wife, the dog, whatever.
Mhm.
And those, sometimes those bright clothing can detract from the end goal. So, but if you wanted to wear a bright red shirt, do it. I'm not going to tell you no. I want to capture people as themselves. So just finding out who they are and what their goals are is very important to me, and making sure that we're prepared prior to a session.
Yeah, that's goes a long way to having that little bit of prep work done before going in so that you can be able to properly use their time that's been given as well to get them the product that they're looking
Absolutely.
for. I love that. The business is growing. You've evolved over the years. Where do you see this business of yours going in the future?
Well, I'm hoping to go full time with the business. Probably not in the next year or two by any means. The kid is still little. We still need that extra income from my day job,
Mhm.
but maybe the 5-year plan. See if I can make it there then. If that happens to end up being a good time for me personally, being able to do it as a full time job instead of a full time on the side job.
Hey, no, full-time on the side, there's everything is a full-time job whenever you put in the proper hours for it. That's the at the end of the day.
Exactly.
It's a full-time job whenever you have to do marketing, you're having to do curating with the clients, you're having to be able to put your work out there in all the different realms, make the phone calls, meet with people. I mean, that's a full-time job. It may not like pay like a full-time job in the same way, but that's a full-time job.
Exactly. Being a business owner in any capacity is a full-time job, whether you're
Yep.
getting paid for it or not.
Yep, it's true. Many years, as they say, for a lot of businesses, you're in the red for a long while before you start getting to the green. But it's putting in that time to get there
Yes,
is what matters the most.
absolutely.
Now, I'm looking at getting into this right now. What are some suggestions that you would recommend for people that are looking to get into this kind of career?
Find a community, whether it be online, an online photographers community, or friends who've been doing it, family members, anyone who can help mentor you directly in a way that y'all have a personal connection of some sort, so you trust the information they're giving you, and just start playing with it. There's no better way than just playing with everything, the camera equipment, your subjects, your location, and just trial by fire in that scenario, but there's also a ton of educational courses online that can help teach you about photography in general, as well as the equipment you're using. So finding those tools is a great way to kind of, start getting your toes wet, if you will, in the world. And heck, I've even gone and taken basics courses online through lynda.com, which is a great resource if you have that available to you for all kinds of learning, not just photography, but they have all kinds of educational material. Masterclass is another fantastic tool for education, and they have lots of photographer master classes as well. And going over those basics over and over again. There, I go through the basics classes a lot just to remind myself, oh yeah, dummy, if you would have done this little thing differently, it would have saved you that hour and a half you spent in Photoshop trying to fix that mistake. There's lots of free courses to learn things, and finding a mentor to help you along the way is always great. And having good friends who will let you take their picture anytime is truly super helpful. I can't tell you how many times I was like, somebody please come with me and let me figure this out. I've got an idea and I want to figure out how to do it. And those friends pulling through for me every time really helped.
This summer, I got some free time if you're bored and want to throw somebody on like weird odd spots. I don't mind. I got free time this summer.
Hey, I know a place that's abandoned. You want to go? Let's go.
Just send me the coordinates.
You got it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, having, as you said, community, family based, group based, all of that, it goes a long way. Being alone on an island is not easy at all. So great words of advice to put us there. Are there things that I like overlooked that you want to kind of cover or talk about? Because if I know I sometimes can just forget the little so tiniest of things that could wind up being something really big that someone wanted to discuss.
I think we hit all of the big topics. We went in depth into nostalgia and everything.
Yeah, I think, hey, there's the word again, nostalgia. Great big
I
things.
know.
So good. Okay, I feel like I did a good job of getting a lot of good information out there. You did a phenomenal job of guiding us through here and getting it out there because I mean, there's so many gold nuggets that whether you're starting a business, whether you're curious about photography, whether you're just wanting to catch up with Ari because you haven't heard from her in a while, but you went to high school with us or middle school or college, this is a way to kind of catch and to see how she's doing in her life as well. So I think that's a pretty good win here in the world of learning from friends.
Yep, it's been great being here with you, and I really appreciate you poking the bear, if you will.
As always, do you have any words of wisdom that could be, or anything that you would like to kind of tell the audience that has maybe doesn't deal with art, maybe it does deal with art that you would kind of like to say to the people?
Be you, because being normal is boring.
I agree. No, hey, promote your business here for us. How can we find you? Like, where are you located at in terms of on the interwebs or, billboards or anything of that sort that we can learn about Ari Ivers Mad Woman Studios?
Madwomanstudios.com. Took me a year to get that URL. I had to buy it at auction. Somebody
Ooh,
had it and wasn't using it. And then a mad.woman.studios on both Facebook and Instagram. And I have a feeling a TikTok's coming soon as well.
do
So
it.
keep an eye out for that.
So websites, you got the different websites. You got Instagram. You said Facebook as well,
Yeah,
and potentially in the future, you said potentially TikTok. Was it TikTok?
potentially a TikTok.
Potentially. Okay. Can you give me a 2-minute elevator pitch? We've walked into an elevator. You got to give me a pitch. Can you give me one in 2 minutes or less?
Yeah,
Do it.
I think so. Yeah. I am an art focused portrait photographer. I strive to show people in their true nature and capture their spirit on film, if you will, not actual film. And I really want to make people feel comfortable in their own skin on camera, in front of the camera, existing in this world for who they are, accepting of all people all around, and feeling that, making them feel like they are at home working with me and building those long-term relationships with people. I want to create art that you can put on your wall and never take down because you just feel seen in that photo. And I want to just keep photographing forever.
Perfect. I believe that's 1 minute and 25 seconds. Bam! Killer. Love it. Right on. And I'm sold. Where's my blank check? Sign it off to you.
I'll take it.
I love it. Again, I can't say enough thank you for coming on here, spending your evening with me to be able to share this lovely bit of information with the world, because that's what learning from friends is all about, is build a community, letting you guys share their excitement and their joy. Because just hearing the way you talk whenever you're talking about photography and talking about a passion is different than anything else, because everyone's voice and intonation and everything is a little bit, there's a little extra pep in the step for sure. So I love that. And I could definitely tell every bit of that passion is there. I'm going to have links, y'all, inside the show notes to be able to go check out her works, send her some messages, and just share the love that's out there in Central Georgia. So, if those people in the South, and she will travel as well, for those that said, hey, looking at trying to get some travel time in, that's, let's get that going out there for her.
Absolutely.
If you want to reach out to me, listeners, I am at Facebook. I do have a Twitter page. I think it's slowly being disappearing because of it transferred over to X, and I really don't have it really posting regularly right now. We'll see. But I've got Facebook, got my email address, cade@learningfromfriends.com. That's out there. They could be able to email me. And I have a Patreon page if you'd like to make a donation that way. It is always welcome. They are all Learning from Friends podcasts, which again, I'll have links below for that. Ari, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for all that you have done and continue to do, and brought back the nostalgia into the evening.
Thanks for having me, Cade. It's been a blast.
So listeners, as we wrap up here, y'all know what's coming next. My name is Cade Curtis, your tour guide in this lovely adventure that I like to call Learning from Friends. And most of all, don't forget to let your curiosity fly high.